What's it like to be a nun?
Yeah. How do you feel being a nun, for example, in this modern world, walking around, like when you see things, your sense doors open, how does that make you feel as far as the Dharma goes? And
Yeah. Well, part of me feels like I'm an alien who has landed in a foreign planet and I'm walking by different species because of this amazing or stark contrast between many things that I look like or represent or feel like or vibe with and what I observe around me. Like I'll start with the superficial, like the looks, no hair, no makeup, plain robes just to cover the body. Um, that's just the surface. And what you see around is hair, almost naked bodies. Unfortunately, these days women are walking around almost naked, and that is perceived as beauty or freedom or progress, whatever. So I'm not even talking about the fact that walking here or pretty much in any modern capital city of the world, you constantly observe people smoking, drinking, speaking loudly. There's loud music. So there's this all of the things that um, a Buddhist nun or a monk would be avoiding in order to create quietude in the mind, to create conditions that are conducive to clarity of mind and stillness and silence. So there's a huge contrast, but it's part of the practice because putting myself in situations like this brings to the surface things that need work because reactions come up, aversion comes up, dislike, displeasure. I wish I was in a quiet place. Why does this person do this? Or if there is such a great opportunity to just step back and watch what happens in the mind, the conversations that come up, the voices and the commentary, reactions, constantly there is so much going on. So if you're not pulled into those external, you know, objects, people, bodies, walking, sounds, then you have so much to work with from a place of calm observation. So my internal experience as a Buddhist nun is one of joy and contentment. Of course, these states of mind and states of heart do not fall from the sky. They require work. Things happen and they agitate the mind. Traffic noise, motorcycles passing by, like zapping your ears, piercing, things like that. Every moment you're exposed to things that disturb your five senses, and of course the mind being the sixth, it all ends up there, like the final end of the tunnel, as it were. So
so when people say, "But can't you just block that out?" Isn't it easy just to block it out? Like, why do you like? Isn't that the simplest thing? You're saying that you walk down the street, you hear a car, or you see things or you hear things. Can't you block it out from your your
mm,
your sense doors?
well, it when you say block it out, it means like simply close the door and pretend as if it's not there. So that's not really possible because things happen so fast. It's not like you're seeing something and then that completes itself, and then you're hearing something and then that completes itself, and then there is a smell that comes to your nose, and then you're fully there. No, it's all happening at the same time and fast. It's happening really fast. I'm not even talking about thoughts that are racing 200 miles per hour to grab on the data that the eye catches, the ear, and bring in memories, associations, things that resonate, have resonance. So it's really fast, the way the five senses work and how the mind orchestrates them all. And it's very easy to be entangled and fall into the whole process and be fully uh, possessed as if by those experiences. So the intention is to slowly unravel and you will be pulled into or triggered by certain things. But the training that my life involves is noticing them, coming back, and bringing Dhamma, bringing principles of Dhamma that we are fortunate today to be exposed to through the suttas. And it's like dirty water and you put detergent, and then there's clarity. So you're constantly, it's not like every moment you're inventing some discovery, or you're just repeatedly staying with the present, with solid understanding, solid information as to what's going on. So it's not just, oh, I'm aware of this sound. The training involves solid knowledge, and that's why I consider my life as a Buddhist nun as an education, not as if I am in a university, but this university I find to be far superior than the ones I've been for decades. I did my undergraduate, and then I did a master's, and then I did another master's. I was in a PhD program. Half, if not most of my life, I've been in a higher education institution. And I thought I was highly educated. I thought I got this. I'm an educated person. I have these diplomas, I have this CV and resume, but then when life hits you with pain, especially physical and mental pain, some illness that you're not able to resolve, and then of course it reverberates, the relationships begin to be disturbed. First, the relationship you have with yourself, and then with the rest of the world. None of my poetry or novel literature or literary theory, critical theory, whatever, these fancy terms can be. I was groping in the dark as if to find remedy to reduce my pain. Even though I was formally seeing doctors, psychotherapists, who are supposed to be the healers, but it wasn't happening. So I consider myself immeasurably fortunate to be able to come across this vast, rich, and beautiful fountain of cures, of remedies, which are simply universal truths, principles that apply, but one just has to have the willingness and the intention, desire to truly test whether these principles are helping you or harming you. And it all starts from training yourself to become a car with brakes. Because today, what I'm observing around is a world where each human being, almost pretty much majority of us, are like cars without brakes, which means we're totally reliant on the gas pedal. Imagine driving on the freeway with a car that doesn't have brakes. So guess what's going to happen? Accidents. It's terrible. And same with human beings. We're supposed to transcend impulse, transcend instinct, and create ourselves, train ourselves to be good human beings. And that is the beginning of the Buddhist training, where you chisel, you refine your ethics, you refine the 3 doors of conduct, what you think, what you say, and what you do with your body. So thought, mind, tongue, body. Those are the 3 workshops where I train every moment, where I have mindfulness and clear understanding of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And then, so what you're saying is that, so by being in situations that are like, you're exposing yourself to people, like walking around the streets, and think that if you're looking for tranquility every day, or just a calmness, you basically, if you can't block that out, because you can't stop things. Like there's no way, unless you walk around with your eyes closed, like physically, or with earplugs or noise cancelling headphones on, you're not going to be able to stop things from coming in, right?
Well, seclusion does not, being away from this external stimuli doesn't mean necessarily that you're secluded. We all have had many a sleepless night, where you are not necessarily bombarded by noise or unpleasant smells or unpleasant touches or whatever, but your thoughts are bombarding you with painful thoughts. You're experiencing worry, racing thoughts, remembering past things that are, every time you replay them in your mind, those pictures, those images or videos, movies, it's like you're piercing yourselves with arrows. So technically there's nothing, you're not exposed to this loud, polluted world, but the internal world can be torture. So it's not that simple as far as, okay, let's shut the ears, let's shut the eyes. The mind, you already have memories. If you have lived even for a few moments, there is data, there's content that the mind is going to work with, and so it's what you do with experience. It's not necessarily about, there is that story of a villager. This comes from the suttas, the discourses that the Buddha shared with us. So this villager one day lives in a village that is, the sidewalks or the streets are all rocky and very coarse, and so he walks and he realizes and feels really pain under the soles of his feet, and he's like, what is this? This is unpleasant. I'm going to put some animal skin, leather type of a thing to make the ground softer so I can walk with more ease. And so he covers one patch of surface on the ground, and he's like, oh, this is really nice. Let me do another. And then before long, he begins to kill all of his cattle to get a lot of the skin to cover the ground so that his feet don't hurt. And he really loses it, like he's at it. And then a neighbor comes over and says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm going to cover the whole surface of this village so that when I walk, it's soft and pleasant and I don't feel unpleasant feelings. And the friend says, are you a fool? Come, give me, a patch of animal skin. Put your feet. And then he traces the shape of his foot and he makes sandals and says, wear this and walk. That's a beautiful lesson for many of us, because we go out there, we try to change the world. Or if this person behaves differently, or if that person acts in this way but not that way, he says this but not that, then my feet will be comfortable. But that's nonsense, because there is a simpler path. Fix your own feet. And I think that's what the Dhamma encourages us to do. It doesn't want us to fall that trap of that chase that will never end, to fix the outside so that I feel good. You go straight in and you create those soft paddings for your feet in the form of really seeing through the truths of life that our society today does everything to cover from our view, starting with the fact of death, that life has a finish line, and to all kinds of things like relationships and what really is at stake. We tend to look at the pleasant side of things but ignore the unpleasant ones, like the body. It's like a bucket that has a hole underneath, and no matter how much you eat, 4 hours later you're hungry. You wash, 7 hours later you need to wash again. You cut your nails, your hair, you clean, you have to do all of those things again and again, so it's a constant cycle. So the point is not to make us feel all depressed and sad, but truth liberates, because you're no longer under the influence of illusion. and you're free.